Hello once again, MMA fans on YouTube. I'm going to come do the BODOGFIGHT card we got coming up this weekend on Saturday. It's going to be a pretty good card. Not as weak a card as they're used to putting out. Not that they put out weak cards, but this card is filled with a lot of good names. Most notably the Russian contingent, the best middleweight fighter in the world, and Matt Lindland on this card, the best heavyweight fighter and arguably the best fighter in the world, FEDOR Emelianenko, top 10 heavyweight like his brother Alexander Emelianenko, also on this card. Another good heavyweight from their camp, Red Devil, is Roman Zensov. He's going to be fighting on Season 1 fighter Bobby Southworth, so it's just a pretty good card. You've got an undefeated prospect like Eddie Alvarez taking on a veteran like Nick Thompson, female fighter Amanda Buckner, Julie Kenzie on this card, who just coming off her loss and a really good exciting fight against Gina Carano. Amar Suluev, Andre Seminoff, other fighters of note, Jorge, Santiago, a UFC veteran. So this card's pretty loaded, so I think it's going to be pretty good. Let's get on to the predictions here. I'm going to do 5 fights in this prediction, and Andre Seminoff, Jorge Santiago will be my first prediction. Andre Seminoff, a veteran of mixed martial arts, has been fighting some of the best guys for a long time, is coming off a few fight loss streak, most notably to Trevor Prangley and Dennis Kang. He's lost to those guys in his last few times out, against Jorge Santiago, who's lost in his few times out. A couple of KO losses to Alan Belcher and to Chris Lieben. Both those were pretty much one-hit knockouts. Lieben with the left hook and Belcher with the high kick. So I think Seminoff is going to win this fight because he's a more well-rounded fighter. He's been in the game a lot longer, and he's fought stiffer competition, and Santiago has shown throughout his history when he fights stiffer competition, he does lose and ends up losing either by a KO or a submission. So I'm going to give this fight to Andre Seminoff in the first round by a KO. On to the next fight, Roman Zensov against Bobby Southworth. Southworth, the famed fighter from Season 1, one of the mouths in the house, along with Josh Koscheck and whatnot, against Roman Zensov. I believe this fight is going to be at heavyweight. I believe Zensov is going to win this fight. He's been knocking guys out as of late. He's gone on a tear and has been KOing some pretty good fighters. KO'd Pedro Hizzo with a lightning quick left hook, and he also did the same to Gilbert Eibel, I believe. He's just got a crazy reaction time, and ever since he seemed to have joined up with the Red Devil Fight Club and training with Fedor and Alexander Emelianenko and Amar Suluev, the guys from that camp, his game has seemed to have gone through the roof. Taking on Bobby Southworth. Southworth hasn't fought as stiff a competition as Zensov has, especially for heavyweight. Southworth has fought James Irvin. That fight was a no contest. Both guys fell out of the cage. Excuse me. And he's fought Vitor Belfort and also has lost to him via submission. So I believe Zensov holds an edge in this fight, and if he catches Southworth, he's going to knock him out, and I believe that'll happen in the first or second round. On to the next fight, Eddie Alvarez against Nick Thompson. Alvarez, 9-0 fighter, is good for stoppages, submissions, taking on Nick Thompson, who is 1-1 in the UFC. Fought Carl Parisian, probably his toughest fight, lost that fight, unanimous decision victory for Parisian. Fought Steve Wisniewski, won that fight. So it's going to be an interesting fight. Thompson has a lot of MMA experience. Alvarez, although is an undefeated fighter and seems to be good at finishing his fights, so would probably have to go with Alvarez on this one. I think he's a young up-and-coming fighter, and he's got obviously a lot of skills and is really good for stopping fights against Nick Thompson. Nick Thompson's going to be a tough guy to put away, but I believe Alvarez can definitely win this fight. Excuse me. However he chooses to. I think he'll probably end up winning a decision, though, to be honest with you. Unanimous decision victory for Eddie Alvarez. On to the next fight, Alexander Emelianenko against Eric Pele. Eric Pele is best known for his fight against Antonio Silva, who we all got to see on the past Elite XC show against Cabbage Carrera. And he was able to beat Cabbage rather easily. And there was a bit of controversy with the Eric Pele fight that he when he KO'd Antonio Silva at a prior BODOG show, but he's fighting Alexander Emelianenko. Alexander, that is, has just shown that he's really committed to his conditioning and his training. He's lost a really good amount of weight ever since we saw him back when he first fought Asuero Silva in one of the Bushido shows. I think it was the first Bushido show where Alexander made his debut, and ever since then he's really refocused his training and his conditioning, really dedicated himself, and he's lost like 40 or 50 pounds, something like that. And he's shown to be a very athletic striker, very well-rounded fighter, definitely a top 10 heavyweight in the world. He's fighting on his home turf with his brother on the same card, and I pick Alexander Emelianenko to win this fight, either by a stoppage or a submission. I just think he's very athletic. He's going to be very hard to hit, and Pele's a really big heavyweight. He's more of a super heavyweight. He's like tips the scales at 300 something pounds, so he's got a hard head, and I think Alexander's going to get a lot of chances to hit it because of his athletic ability, and I pick him to win this fight. So on to the next fight, and this is a really interesting fight, but there's a but here. Two guys from two different weight classes who are the best in their weight classes in the world. Lindland is the best 185er in the world, period. You can say what you want about, Anderson Silva, guys like that, but Matt Lindland is the best 185er in the world. He's been fighting some of the best guys for a long time, is showing he's willing to go up in weight class and test himself. He's doing this by taking this fight with FEDOR, which was originally supposed to be Jeff Monson. And FEDOR is fighting in Russia for the first time in a while, so he doesn't have to worry about all that extensive travel and stuff with this card. So I really, the one time we did see Lindland go up, he fought Rampage, and he had a hard time with Rampage physically. Rampage was able to manhandle him a little bit and get out of that guillotine choke by just picking him up and slamming him, and sort of got outstruck on the feet. It was a close fight, but he's fighting FEDOR, and FEDOR is just so well-rounded, can finish a fight standing on the ground, from bottom, from top. His ground and pound is extremely brutal, and he hits like a Mack truck, and if he catches Matt Lindland, he's going to knock him out. And Lindland's a very good guy to get out of submissions. He's a very good submission guy himself, but I think FEDOR's athletic ability and his size and his stand-up is just going to be too much for Lindland to handle, and Lindland's going to end up losing this fight probably by a KO in the first or second round. So I really see FEDOR just blowing through him, but having an easy fight, to be honest with you. Lindland's a tough guy, but I just think this is just the biggest cookie he could have tried to bite, and I don't think he's going to be able to get through it. And obviously I picked FEDOR to win this fight. I hope you guys enjoyed the segment. A lot of interesting things going on in MMA, of course, as we all know. I don't know how many of you out there have MMA Weekly and can listen to Josh Gross and Jeff Kane on the radio show. They do a really entertaining show. Both those guys are longtime MMA enthusiasts, are really knowledgeable, and they do a pretty good radio show as well. So in the last couple of days, we've got to hear all the fallout between Matt Serra, GSP, Matt Hughes, the whole thing about him laughing at the end of the fight, saying he loved it, and we all pretty much know why he was laughing, because GSP was such an overwhelming favorite, went out there and got KO'd in his first title defense after he just had KO'd Matt Hughes, and I feel like Matt Hughes thinks Serra is an easier fight for him, a much easier fight than GSP would have been, and now Matt Serra is going to be fighting GSP in his, Matt Hughes in his first title defense. So And those guys, especially Matt Serra, he does not bite his tongue for anybody, has definitely not pulled any punches when he's come to his feelings about Matt Hughes. So this is really going to be interesting to see the hype building up to this fight. It's going to be interesting promos, interesting interviews, so we should definitely be well entertained leading up to that fight. But until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. Got a great weekend coming up. So hope you all enjoy the Bodog fight.